Hello fabulous friends and fans, I am your host Nadia Shaw and welcome to another episode of Nadia Shaw Productions. Thank you so much for being here. This is actually very special to me because this is our first ever location episode. Now, when I first envisioned this online show, I had the idea of just presenting you with really inspiring and empowering and positive conversations and people and places wherever they may be. And it's been my absolute privilege to share with you the things that I'm enthusiastic about in the areas of spirituality, astrology, and art. And so this is our first ever location episode. And when I envisioned the show, I imagined myself being here and sharing this experience with you. And I'm just so grateful that you are here to enjoy with me my beautiful Bath, otherwise known as Bath, UK, also known to the ancient Romans as Aqua Sulis. There's nothing about Bath that I don't love, whether it's the architecture in its Palladian style characterized by symmetry, whether it's the support of arts and artists since the beginning, whether it's that Uranus was discovered here, and some people think that Uranus is the planet of astrology, and I love it that Uranus was discovered here, not only because I'm an Aquarius, but because it's also a planet of freedom and revelation and insight and being truly yourself, and not only because everywhere you look there are signs of the sacred, and I really love that. Now, I do believe that nature is sacred, absolutely, and that's what astrology is about. That's what the planets in the sky is about. But here we actually have a temple, and so on top of the street you see, this mass consumerism and a lot of people just getting really into the whole buying thing. And this has in recent times been known as a city of leisure, but just underneath the ground is this massive temple to Sulis Minerva, goddess of healing and wisdom, and inside are relics to Neptune, or otherwise known as Asclepius, to Jupiter and Mercury, and the three mother goddesses of the Celtic religions. And it's lying there right under the ground with this sacred spring that runs up into the temple and also into the pump room, where you can actually go and try some of that very sacred water. That same water runs through up the street and into the Cross Bath. Now, the Cross Bath is a place where you can actually go and take a dip in this very sacred water. Baths were actually very common to the ancient Romans. They were a place where people could get clean, and they were also a place where people socialized and did business. But what was different about Bath, and what is different, is that the bath is connected to a temple. Because of a natural hot spring, the ancient Romans considered it a gift, this hot spring, as a sign of the goddess Minerva, a goddess of healing and wisdom. And the water that naturally springs forth here was very quickly associated with healing properties and has been written about for millennia. When you first walk into the Roman baths, one of the things that really struck me was the sun god Sol, standing as a protector to Minerva, the goddess of healing and wisdom inside. And the image of Sol and the eyes, I can imagine how penetrating they must have been to the ancient Romans, because today the relic still feels particularly imbued with reverence and with spiritual energy. And when you go inside, you can see these remnants of offerings that were made, prayers that were made, how prayers were done, and how this was a place where people lived, they interacted. It was a social place, but it was also a place of great reverence, a place where people went to pray and to ask for favors, but also just to give their reverence, to honor this very special energy represented in this natural hot spring. What I have found really fascinating is that people don't really always recognize that they're actually on sacred ground, they're actually on spiritual ground. However, in their own way, they continue to honor these ancient energies, these ancient gods. They continue to live. And I thought that every time somebody goes and pays the entrance fee, you know, every time somebody goes and takes a picture of these carvings, gazes upon these waters where people have come for healing, for wisdom, for inner knowledge, for favor, for prayer. Every time they continue to come to these places, even if they aren't consciously, actively engaged in these topics, they still are honoring these energies and honoring that ancient ritual. Now, what's also really incredible about Bath, one thing I love about Bath as an Aquarius, as somebody who loves the planet Uranus because it represents freedom and healthy rebellion, well, rebellion of all kinds actually, but it represents rebellion, it represents being true to yourself, it represents independence, but it also represents social responsibility. The planet Uranus was discovered by the Herschel siblings right here in Bath. With the discovery of Uranus came lots of world events, but particularly the Enlightenment that put an emphasis on science, which eventually led to an understanding of our psyche and our spirit under the branch of psychoanalysis and psychology, which eventually led to astrology becoming much more psychological in its interpretations. So if we trace it all back, it all starts right here with the discovery of Uranus. What I also found really interesting about the discovery of Uranus for Herschel was that once he discovered Uranus, published his findings, it came the acclaim that he had been seeking. He was just doing what was fun. He always thought that the way that he was going to really make his mark was through music. But then he also had this really fun thing that he loved to do, which was astronomy. And then he discovers Uranus, and then comes the huge success just doing what was fun to him. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Nadia Shah Productions. Thank you so much for sharing Bath with me, one of my absolute favorite places on the planet, a place that I return to time and time again, and I'm certain that I will again in the future. Until we connect again, take care.